Oh, Lord. Unhinged! The show is going to be unhinged.
Yeah, because it's finally freaking Friday, the holiday weekend, and the weather is shit.
Oh, of course, we're starting starting off right, but since the weather is kind of crappy, we're going to bring it on to Cappy Bar. No, I'm just kidding. It is July 3rd. I can't believe we are here, Sunny.
Happy anniversary, Jessica and Timmy.
A.K.A. Madonna Day.
Madonna Day! I've been listening all morning. She got me through my morning workout.
It is. This album is absolutely the best album she's had in about 20 years.
I love a good dance music.
It
like,
is
it's just
so freaking good and freeing. I love it.
Don't sing it because I haven't listened to it yet. I'm going to listen to it when I get home tonight.
I got something I want to talk about. All right. That's what I want to talk about. The day before America turns 250 years young. You are young compared to our city, honey. We 467.
You know what? We look good for 250. We must be using oil of Olay. Don't do that.
We got the Fountain of Youth. We've got the Fountain of Youth.
And we got Cynthia Garris. Okay. Today we have a lot of details to cover. A rock legend gone too soon, a Hollywood icon who does things on camera no sane person would attempt, and a little film in 1985 that got rejected 40 times before it changed everything. We got a local story that'll make you think very differently what it means about doing the right thing. And we've also
do the right thing.
Got a woman, an ex-boyfriend, and a decision involving raw seafood that I genuinely cannot wait to tell you about.
Ew.
Before we get into all that and unpack this with the TLDR and not with shrimp for Ixiim, we're going to turn it over to the queen of the sunny sack scene. Mel, we got no snacks today.
No, I'm not. Well, Ixiim is going to try that disgusting Primo bar.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it after the show because I'm afraid.
Yeah, just in case.
I don't want Gurgle Belly live.
Gurgle Belly.
And that happens on this show.
Details by Dean has given us everything. A birthday that belongs to an Action Hero Hall of Fame. A business that opened in one tiny Arkansas town in 1962. And then basically it took over the world. And the most unhinged gas station robbery.
Yeah.
In Maine.
I can't wait.
Maine.
Sunshine Shenanigans today involves a breakup, a spare key that should have been returned, and 11 pounds of something that belongs in a restaurant and not inside of a dashboard. Stay with me on that one.
And today on Inspo with me, we're going to go deep. Tomorrow we turn 250 years old, but we're not just going to talk about the highlight reel. I'm going to talk about some little-known history, go behind the details, talk about some of the stories we don't always hear about.
And we're going to see what Ixiim puts in her pocketbook.
Yes. DJ Snackback, that's me. Today I have 3 songs and 3 completely different versions of America.
America!
So that's all I'm going to tell you.
All right.
America.
And then what else do we got? Oh, we've got all the things happening on this town that's for free for the 250th. We'll touch on that. We've got the local music report and all the shenanigans you need because this show is fierce.
It's fresh. It's Sunny TV.
Oh, and now a quick word from our title sponsors, the Bailey Group and Steve Chapman's All-American Air.
America.
Be ready for anything with the Bailey Group, an NFP company. Life is full of unexpected moments. Whether it's securing your family's future, protecting your business, or planning for individual wealth, the Bailey Group is here to guide you every single step of the way. Since 1954, the Bailey Group has been a trusted cornerstone of the St. Augustine community. Under the leadership of President Mark Bailey, they've grown from a local agency into a nationally recognized firm, offering tailored solutions for individuals, families, and businesses, with a focus on individual health and life insurance, Medicare solutions, group insurance, and property and casualty commercial coverage. The Bailey Group combines cutting-edge technology, strategic partnerships, and personalized service to deliver the peace of mind you deserve. Give them a call today, 904-461-1800.
Hi, I'm Steve Chapman, owner of All American Air Conditioning and Heating. For over 40 years, we've been serving St. Augustine and the surrounding areas. We're the largest HVAC dealer in St. Johns County, providing high-quality service and products. With courteous technicians responding to your HVAC needs, our expertise will give you confidence in your investment. Family-owned All American Air Conditioning, voted Best of St. Augustine for more than 20 years running.
Before we ran Steve Chapman's All American
Yes, I
Air.
have to tell you.
Yeah.
Steve Chapman is America.
He is America. Yes.
Look
I
at that
love it.
mural on the side of their building. It says freedom.
I know,
Yes.
and I love them so much. Thank you, everyone over to All American
Yes.
Air. They came to my house and I did my maintenance plan agreement
gotta
thing.
call and get mine set
It
up.
was the easiest, loveliest moment, and yeah, they make you feel so secure, especially with these hot degrees weather out there.
Speaking of weather.
Oh yeah, speaking of,
Da-da-da-da-da.
tell us
It's
what's going
weathering
on.
out.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Spill the tea,
It's going to be a
homegirl.
high of 88, but it's going to feel 103.
Jeez, my age.
The UV index is 11.0, which is extreme, but it's down from 1 yesterday.
Oh, my goal weight.
Winds are coming in east-northeast at 9 miles per hour, and gusts are 21 miles per hour, so we're going to get a breeze. Tonight, it's going to drop down to 76, but it's going to feel humid and 85. It is going to rain on and off today, guys, which stinks because I had some outdoor things I needed to do. So,
But the plants will be lovely. Wait,
Yeah.
can you give us a little bit of a preview of what tomorrow? Is it going to rain for fireworks, Mel?
tomorrow, let me see.
it's
Hold on.
definitely going to get spotty McSpotty out there.
Yeah, tomorrow, you guys be prepared because it is going to be.
Off and on rain until about 7 o'clock is what I heard from morning.
And what the
news
fireworks are
report.
like 9.
Yeah.
Let me give you the accurate one moment,
Oh,
please.
Excuse me, sorry.
I
Let's
forget.
all just
I
have
forget
a-
when the-
Okay, so
Someone tell-
tomorrow is going to be a high of 89. There are going to be thunderstorms, showers in the morning, followed by a thunderstorm spot in the afternoon. So you may be good for fireworks. I hope it rains so we don't have fireworks.
I agree with that one. I'll second it. I don't love a
Yes.
fireworks moment. They're pretty, but guys, can we make
it's
it
not
like
good for my dog.
noise canceling ones?
I like the LEDs that other countries do.
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
can't we do that?
Why can't we
like
do
the
drones?
drone show. I think would be
those,
so beautiful.
Yeah, those drone shows are gorgeous.
We
and
have
they move
a
and-
really cool like drone class over at St. Augustine High School that
Let them
gives
do
them
it.
gives them a grant. Wouldn't that be cool if they like did all these like the Bridge of Lions in the sky or something? Wouldn't that be? I'm pushing
Yeah.
for it. City of St. Augustine.
It's time for details by Dean.
Detailsbydean.com.
National holidays. I read it as chocolate water, but it's National
Chocolate Water
Chocolate
Day?
Wafer Day.
That's right. Wafers actually date back to medieval Europe, where thin-baked cakes were served at religious feasts. By the early 20th century, American candy companies fully claimed them, and now they've been a lunchbox staple ever since.
Ah.
I like the wafers. Those little like thin, crispy
Yes.
things.
Yeah.
I like the ones with the cream inside, though. Those are good.
And it's also National Compliment Your Mirror Day.
Wow.
Hey, look, I brought my own mirror. Mirror, you're so wonderful. You're so great. Thank you, mirror.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Mental health researchers
Yes.
have found that positive self-talk genuinely rewires how the brain processes stress, self-worth over time. What you say to yourself in private. Listen, guys, I know we're silly, but think about this one.
Yes.
What you say to yourself in private shapes everything you do in public. I know Misty feels me right now. Say good things about yourself.
Yes.
You have great hair.
Yes.
It's true.
Let's do some notable birthdays,
Yes.
shall we? Ew.
Oh,
Happy birthday, Tom Cruise.
great.
And let's do
That's as festive as we get.
days people we remember.
Okay, much better, yeah.
Okay.
Today, July 3rd, 1971, was the day that Jim Morrison passed. He was only 27 years old.
Oh, how can you do it in front of your mother like that? Jim Morrison
mom
became,
loves Jim Morrison.
I know, one of the most founding members of what is now called the 27
I was
Club.
gonna
Yeah.
say 27, so that's like historic. There are quite a
Janis
few
Joplin.
famous people who died at age
Yep,
27.
Jimi
so
Hendrix.
A lot of musicians have this thing hanging over their head if they start young.
Right.
They think about that year, the 27. and it's
27,
like-
Kurt
absolutely.
Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Andy Griffith. We lost him in 2012.
Oh, my
He was
gosh.
the star of the Andy Griffith Show, and you know what? There will never be another Mayberry.
Andy Griffith turned down a film career to stay with his television show because he believed in what he was making. The Andy Griffith Show ran for 8 seasons and never finished lower than 7th in the Nielsen ratings. It finished number 1 in its final season. One of the only shows in television history to end at the top of their game.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
I think that's pretty cool because he could have gone on to do movies and bigger things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he said
He
he didn't
said no.
necessarily want the fame. He liked what he was creating on his Andy Griffith Show, like Mayberry. Think about how wholesome that was, and it
Yeah.
was like this focus on community and family, and just like very like simple adventures. You know, this. It was like
Simple
such icon.
times.
Yeah, simple
I mean,
times.
I
so
find
he
it-
wanted to focus on that. I think,
I think
it's
he's an
special. Yeah.
inspiration. I actually, I've been offered several roles. Anytime you see Ryan Gosling, that was a role
Oh,
that
that
was
was for
offered to
you,
me.
yeah.
And I said, Sunny TV.
Yeah,
I
that's it.
have to be here in
Right.
the Sunnyverse to help everybody
did.
lift up their day. So
You're such a saint.
yeah, I could have been in the Notebook.
In
Yeah.
U.S. history, July 3rd, 1863, Pickett's charge. On this date in 1863, Confederate General George Pickett led a massive assault across an open field at Gettysburg. And it did not go well.
Nearly 12,500 Confederate soldiers marched.
And in 1962, Walmart opens its first store.
Oh my
Wally
God,
Marks.
Alexa skip. Sam Walton's model was ruthlessly
All right, here we go.
simple.
We're going to do this one's better.
Okay.
Back to the Future premieres July 3rd, 1985. And it's one of the
Perfect.
greatest
Good old
movies that
Marty
ever
McFly.
walked into our
Yes.
lives and never left.
Back to the Future was rejected by a major film studio 40 times before Universal said yes. The original casting had Eric Stoltz as Marty McFly, and then they shot 5 weeks of the film before deciding it was not working and recasting Michael J. Fox. The DeLorean time
Marty.
machine was originally designed as a refrigerator. That wouldn't have worked. And the movie that almost did not
No.
get made became one of the highest grossing films of all time.
You know what I think of when I think of a refrigerator?
What?
Bill
Punky-
and Ted.
No, Punky Brewster
Yeah.
getting stuck in the refrigerator
That's
episode.
right.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
true.
Punky
no,
Brewster,
that
I
would not
love
work
her.
for the movie.
Some weird news, shall we? In
Okay.
1999, a man in Maine tried to rob a gas station with a live lobster. I need
What?
you to sit up with that
The
one.
clerk reportedly refused to hand over the cash on the grounds that the lobster was, and the actual description, more confused than threatening. The man was arrested outside. The lobster was returned to the ocean. This was a real thing that happened. Oh my goodness.
And in 2023, a man in the state of Florida tried to inflate a kiddie pool with a shop vac, set it in reverse, and he put it in reverse. So it said,
The pool launched into the air and landed onto a neighbor's car. No injuries were reported. The video went viral. He told reporters he considered it, and in this direct quote, efficient engineering. Oh.
and in
Oh, my.
2022, right here at home, wildlife officials documented unusually high numbers of green turtle nests along St. Johns County beaches.
I think we're going to see another record year.
think
Yesterday,
so.
when I was out on my beach walk, my first time in a while because
Yeah.
of my whole ankle injury, there were so many new turtle nests, and they were like all over the place. Usually you see them up in the dunes. There were some near the water, some up in the dunes. I mean, they're all over. I saw a ton yesterday.
So, Ixiim, I
Yes.
want you to teach people out there, because there's a company that that's in public
Oh,
relations
yeah.
that decided to go up to this turtle and take
Touch
pictures.
them.
And that no, they didn't touch. I gotta be real clear here, because they'll come for me. They were
put the
just
light.
taking pictures, but that light will still be sensitive to these turtles, right?
Absolutely. So if you see me running in the mornings, you'll notice I wear a red lamp because lights disrupt the rhythm of the turtles. So the moon is what draws these turtles out of their nests, and they go towards the moon. They go towards the reflection of the moon on the water. And so the moon, they're very much driven by that light. So when they see an artificial light, they can't distinguish the difference. And so it tends to throw turtles off. So they either go in the wrong direction, maybe they start hatching a little too soon. Like it's just,
Right,
it's
yeah,
very
they-
disruptive.
It puts them in stress.
It's
yeah.
very disruptive to
Leave
the
'em
turtles.
alone.
It's
Yeah.
very stressful for them, for the mothers and the babies, and so it's like when I see people on the beach with lights, it drives me crazy. And
Yeah.
when they leave holes in the sand, if you're out at the beach this weekend and you have a little barbecue and you put up your tent and all this stuff, lovely, fine, great, do that, but fill your holes in when
Yeah,
you
because
leave.
they're going to get
Right.
dead in there.
Because turtles get stuck in the holes. And yesterday on my walk, I did see a baby turtle stuck in a hole, and he had not made it. I carried his body to the water and let him go out to sea. But like, it's just sad. People don't think about these things. They're
Yeah.
having fun with their friends. Lovely. Enjoy yourselves. But please be safe to our wildlife out there. Please be
Stupids.
kind and be cognizant.
Yes.
Fill your holes.
And
Yes.
tomorrow is 4th of July. It's America's 250th birthday.
That's
Yes.
wonderful. We're going to learn all about that throughout these Ixiim segment. But before we get to that, we got the local music report. Drum it, hum it down, Sonny. It's time for the local music report to make you proud on this Friday, July 3rd. We got Jim Johnson at Pierre's Pub at 11, Michael Bo Griner at Milltop Tavern at noon, Joshua Tennessee Worthy at Bin 39 Wine Bar. That's where it's going to be at 1 o'clock today. Colin Costco, La Cocina at the cellar upstairs at 1. Some random dude is playing at Meehan's. No idea who that is. 1 o'clock. Sean Ryan, Pierre's Pub, 2 o'clock. And the world famous Zaza
Flamenco.
The Bart on Abilese at 3 o'clock. David Watt Besley at Ann Kate's 3:30. Charlotte Macaluso, Bin 30 Wine Bar at 4. Hopefully I'll see that one. Palmetto Pickers at the Guy Harvey Resort at 4. John Q, Milltop Tavern at 4:30. Potato Heads over at Marina Munch at 5.
Trevor.
Salt Tones at the Beaches Volano at 5 o'clock. Joshua Tennessee Worthy is going to be playing with The Edge at the Boathouse today at 5 o'clock.
With the edge, the edge?
Wait, the Edge? That's what I just said too.
What?
Well, you're going to have to go
Like
and
from
check and
U2?
see it out. I would love for some on-the-ground coverage of that, ladies. Rusty Philippus at T. Smith Asian Bistro, 5:30. Baby Gray is back on the scene at Two Creeks Bar and a Grill at 6 o'clock. That's a funny name. Contacts Buzz at Funkadelic Food Shack at 6. Social String Band Hurricane Grill at Wings at 6. Sage Trinell at La Cocina. She's going to be here releasing her debut single coming up in August. Cannot wait to talk to Sage. New Guys on the Dock, O.C. White's at 6 o'clock. Walt Kowicki, there he is, Mel, at Shaughnessy's.
Oh, good.
6 o'clock. Fawn Kaiser at Krabby's. You'll be itching it out at Beachside.
Oh, my
6
God,
o'clock.
stop.
Augie Style, Pesca Volano by Michaels. That's going to be a good one
Yay.
at 6 o'clock. Smoking Joe's taking more showers at Salt Life at 6 o'clock. Verse Vitile at Colonial Oak Music Park at 7. Matt Wilson at Cortez's Bistro at 7. Little Silver at Dirty Nelly's at 7. Hudson Vance at River and Ford at 7. Heather Craig, Meehan's at 7. Joshua Tennessee Worthy at Pierce Pub at 7. And finishing out tonight is Bo and the Burners at the Milltop Tavern at 9. We got some great expectations.
People are looking for a company, I want people to have great expectations. We are a small family-owned brokerage. What that means is you get really personalized service and everything is very hands-on. You're not just getting tossed onto the MLS and crossing our fingers. We're very aggressive with our marketing. We're excellent with communication. We have a lot of amazing relationships in the community, so you're getting the advantages of all of those things.
All right, it is Friday, and it is the Woman of the Hour. We've got...
She.
Yeah!
Bah, bah, bah.
Let's get into this chat, Boo Boo.
I'm so excited because, you know, we've got something big happening this weekend.
I know.
It's happening
We
tomorrow.
love a theme.
We love a theme. Can you tell? We like theme. Even Funshine Bear's dressed up
We
for
have
the
to
theme
give
today.
a shout out though to Stephanie Robinson
Oh, yes.
for the decorations.
First
Thank
off,
you.
happy
Yep.
belated birthday, Steph.
happy
I wasn't
belated
live
birthday.
yesterday, but I did say happy birthday. Happy belated birthday. Thanks for letting us borrow all the decor because you know I love some decor.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love to dress up for the theme, and I love some decor for the theme. So, as we all know, tomorrow is our semi-quicentennial.
Okay.
Got it?
Wonderful.
Shut up, Ixiim. Look at that beautiful picture.
Thank you very much. What I do at 4 in the morning.
So we are turning 250 as a nation, and it's, you know, obviously you've heard all about it. There's been this big lead up. So a lot of us know probably the more common history. So I thought today we'd talk a little bit about the unknown stories and maybe talk more about what it means, the Freedom 250, what freedom means, and what all of this means to be like an American citizen, right? So, so first off, what do you think about when you think about 4th of July?
Red, white, and blue.
Yes, and Mel, what do you think about?
Cookout food.
Okay.
Cookout food, yeah. So that's usually common. People think of the colors. They think about barbecues. Maybe it's being at the beach, fireworks. I know, we're not always
I love
favorite.
cookout
They're
food.
still pretty,
It's
but
pretty.
I just don't want to hear them.
So those are like the common themes that people often think about with 4th of July. But I kind of wanted to expand it because it's not just like the celebration. You know, I love a good party. I love a good celebration. But I wanted to talk about like the hard work that went behind it, the people that went into it, all the things that went into us becoming a nation as we know it today. So one of the things I found most fascinating is that, you know, we often celebrate July 4th, but the actual vote for our independence happened on July 2nd. So
Wait,
we
show
talked about
us-
this on the show yesterday, right?
But what do you have in your pocketbook that you always carry around?
Oh, this is beautiful. Yeah, what is this?
My pocket constitution.
Wow.
Because why not? Who doesn't have a pocket constitution?
I know.
And who
What-
doesn't have 2 copies?
what are you
because-
doing?
You know what? I definitely have that.
Yeah, all right, Christy, you got it in your purse? What you got, boo?
Yes. So well, you know, I'm like a nerd. I love learning things. I love language. I love understanding the history of things. I like to approach the world with a curious eye. So I always look at things and think about like, what did I learn in school? But what else was there to learn about? And so like with regards to our 4th of July, I just always thought it was very fascinating that we actually, so Congress, the Continental Congress, got together, and on July 2nd, they voted to create their own country, right? That we voted for independence then on July 2nd. And July 4th was when the verbiage of it was approved. So July 4th was essentially not the vote. It was just like, okay, we agree with all the words in here. And it took, some historians say, 86 iterations before they finally agreed.
Wow.
So 86 revisions of the document before they finally agreed on something. They did it in 2 days,
It was a
which
big
is
deal.
kind of
They had to
impressive.
revise it many
Yes,
times.
it's kind of impressive if you think about it. And it wasn't actually signed until August 2nd.
Okay.
So from the time it was actually, proposed as an idea, which was in June of 1776, was proposed as an idea, let's proclaim our independence. Then they voted on it on July 2nd and said, we agree, we're going to fight for our independence. We're going to say we're an independent nation. And July 4th, they agreed on the verbiage. And the Declaration of Independence is actually not like this big prophetic document that's more of our Constitution. But what's in there are like 37 grievances against the King of England.
Oh, can you tell us what some of them
So
are?
like it was like all the
Give us,
things.
like,
It was like
one.
you name, like they thought he wasn't looking after their interests. They thought he was imposing controls that weren't allowed.
Sounds kind of
He was
familiar.
imposing taxes that they didn't agree with. The whole taxation without representation thing. The whole process actually began like years and years before in 1763. So if you think about it, this had been going on for like 6-7 years, and they finally said, we've had enough, and they started fighting back, and so they started like kind of gathering together. Before this,
Was it a revolt or an uprising?
a little bit of both.
Okay.
They revolted first because you think about the Boston Massacre happened in 1770, and that was when some British officers, like, they shot on
Yeah.
some people in Boston.
Yeah,
and,
nasty.
Yeah, so there were 5 colonists who were murdered, who were killed, and then, that got people very upset about this. And then a couple of years later, you had the Boston Tea Party, because now you had Britain imposing all these additional taxes on us here in the colonies. And so you had people who went onto these boats, and they tossed all this tea into the ocean. They said if you equate the dollars nowadays, it would be about $1 to $2 million worth of tea.
Dang.
Wow.
So this was
Wow.
like shots fired.
Yeah.
But they were saying, we will not agree with your taxes because we have no representation in your form of government. We don't have any voice, and yet you're taxing us. Sort of like what's happening in Puerto Rico. I hate to say it. So
It's the truth. I mean, verdad. It's the absolute truth.
Absolutely.
So people started kind of gathering together. I know we don't like the word, but they started banding together, because prior to this, the colonies were kind of all individually run. Like each little colony was sort of its own unique character. It had its own kind of structure for organization. But after this was happening, they started saying, like, we need to get together. We need to band together, because we need, like, our strength as one unified entity will help us be, have a voice amongst against the British government. And so they started banding together, and they started meeting to say, like, what can we do? So in 1774, they began saying, okay, we need to unify in our resistance. We need to unify in our rebellion. And so 1774, they started having these Continental Congress, where all of the colonies, representatives from each of these colonies, started coming together. So it started in 1763. Now we're 1774. We're 9 years later. They've been dealing with all of this tumult, taxation, all this, forced control over them for 9 years, and they get together and say, we need to do this as a unit. And so they start talking about this. And then in 1776, a gentleman by the name of, I wrote this name down because I didn't know his name, Richard Henry Lee, in June 1776 proposed, we need to fight for our independence. We need
Okay.
to become our own independent nation. It was
Radical.
the first time, yes, that idea was brought up. And if you think about it at that time, to say this, you were essentially, it was an act of treason. So the courage that it took to have to stand up and say, we are going to speak out against the king and say that we want to be an independent nation, this was an act of treason on every level. And back then, the consequences for treason were hanging and quartering.
What?
Like literally cutting someone's body into
Really?
pieces. It
Wow.
was considered that much of an egregious offense. So people standing up
Yikes.
and being vocal about this, they were taking their own lives in their own hands. They did not know that this was going to be successful. They just knew they had to do something, and they had to do it together. So the courage it took, like we think about it now in hindsight, we think like it all worked out, yay. But they didn't know.
Yeah.
They had no certainty that this was going to work. And so, they voted on, yes, we're going to pursue independence. We're going to have this committee of 5 draft this doctrine, the Declaration of Independence. They voted on it in 1776. war continued with Britain for years, and it wasn't until 1783. So think about it, 1763 to 1783. We're talking 20 years. It wasn't until 1783 that the Treaty of Paris was signed, when Britain finally said, okay, we will secede.
Yeah, enough.
We will agree to peace, and we will acknowledge that you are an independent nation. 20 years.
Yeah.
We think about the day of
We think
4th
it
of
happened
July.
in 3 days.
Yeah, we see the paintings,
Yeah.
like they all signed it all together. No, that was their intent. So on July 2nd, they stated their intent. On July 4th, they put the words to it. And it wasn't until like 7 years later that they finally got the world agreed, okay, you are your own independent nation.
They finally got their freedom.
Yes,
For 20 years. Uphill, both
Right.
ways.
That's
Got it.
crazy.
That's
So-
amazing.
So the fact
But they
that we
didn't
said-
give up.
No,
For
they
20
didn't give
years,
up.
they never
That's
gave
the
up.
thing. They didn't give up. They knew they had a goal in mind, and they were like, we're going to band together and we're going to do this. And
True.
I think sometimes it might take longer than you want. It might not go the way you want, but everything happens the way it needs to happen.
Yeah.
You need to
Yes.
practice what you preach over there.
I
Lena.
think that is the beautiful aspect of the story, is that we focus a lot on celebrating the day because we need to have a day to celebrate, right? And it's funny, John Adams thought everyone's going to celebrate on July 2nd. He thought that would be the day that people would remember, and somehow it became July 4th just over time. They didn't even celebrate it the first year. Like in 1777, there were no celebrations. And the story goes that
They were tired from all the fighting.
So
Right.
the story goes that in
Take a nap.
1777, it was July 3rd, and they went, oh, wait, we should have celebrated because yesterday was because they forgot and they remembered on July 3rd, then they celebrated the next day on July 4th. So that's the story. We don't know. There's always there's all these myths that go along with it, right? But I just think it's a beautiful story of resilience, of having a purpose, of knowing what they wanted to stand for, and unifying together as individual colonies, but coming together and saying, we can do this together.
That's
And they-
remarkable.
right? It's really
At a
remarkable.
time where technology didn't exist.
At a time where technology did
So
not
you
exist.
really had to put your faith over your fear in that
And
moment.
you had to. That's the thing. You had to put your differences aside, and you had to work together for one common goal for the betterment of the people. So
Right.
Absolutely.
maybe we need to look back and take a note and band together now.
I think
Maybe
so.
not go dragging people and dividing them up in quarters.
No,
but
yeah,
Yeah.
but obviously we can drag them up and make them nice.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways also from our Declaration of Independence. It wasn't a document that said we are perfect today. It talks about how we continue to make the decision every day to be a united nation, to be this group of individuals coming together for a common
And
purpose.
look at our name, United States.
Yes.
Think about that.
Yeah. So they position it as like independence, freedom is a choice that we make every single day. And we do it as citizens. And actually, if you look up at the definition of the word citizen, besides the legal definition, it's someone who is a participant in a community. Participant, an active participant. It's not someone who sits back. It's not someone who does nothing. It's someone who is actively engaged and involved in their community. It's making the decisions. And maybe you're not out there as a local politician, or maybe you're not out there as a big leader, but everything we do in our own communities is a form of citizenship, whether that's mentoring somebody, whether that's creating art. Everything that we do for the greater good of our community is considered an act of citizenship.
Not draining the resources, but
Correct.
actually putting the resources back
It's
into the
intended
community.
for the betterment of a community. So, like, again, look up the word the definition of citizenship, and it's just
I
this
love that.
beautiful definition
Yeah.
of an
Yeah.
active participant who is working towards the betterment of their community.
Yeah.
Like, that is what we all should be striving for, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what they laid forth in that Declaration of Independence. And I just think it's so beautiful. They had the foresight to do it. Something else that I thought was really important about our history is that it was critical to this were not just the founding fathers, not just the individual five who wrote the document, not the 56 signers, but there were so many others whose stories were never told. And I think now we've gotten to the point where we're more curious about the stories that we weren't told. We're realizing there's more to it, and I love curiosity about things. So like one of the characters that I learned about was this young woman named Sybil Ludington. So you've all heard of Paul Revere, right?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the star of a Beastie Boys song.
Yeah.
yes. So everyone knows Paul Revere.
That's how I learned his story.
Right, and everyone says, oh, he was like the guy that went around saying, the British are coming, the British are coming. But
He was a jerk.
Sybil Ludington actually rode further than Paul Revere and did it first. She rode over 40 miles, 16 years old. She had just turned 16, and they had heard that the British Army was coming into Ludington, I believe,
What's her name?
Connecticut.
Sybil what?
Sybil Shepherd?
Ludington.
Sybil Ludington?
Ludington, Ludington. So
I'm writing
they were
her down.
coming
She's
into
going next to Blanche in my book. We need a
Yes.
statue of her too.
Can we
Come
get her
on.
on? Can we get her on the show?
I never heard of her before. I heard of
Right?
Paul Revere. Now
Yes.
I'm pissed.
And she was 16. So they were invading or coming near Danbury, Connecticut. And she heard about this. Her father was involved in the military in some way. And so they said, we need someone to go alert all the individuals in this area. And no one raised their hand, and she did.
She said,
And
"Oh, I
she
got
rode
you."
40 miles overnight. She went into every town, every neighborhood, and said, the British are coming. If you want to come and be safe, come to our property. We will take care of you there. Like, she went and alerted all these folks. So Paul Revere actually came after her and didn't ride nearly as far.
Typical.
Right? But we never hear about her.
Sybil.
We never hear about the
This
stories,
poor woman.
the
Teenage
one
girl.
woman we do hear about often with regards to the revolution is Betsy Ross.
Betsy Ross.
is my homegirl.
Make the flag, sew it up.
I love her. I love her so much.
So Betsy Ross is an interesting character because she is real as well. Sybil Ludington is real. Betsy Ross is real. However, in recent years, they've come to think that maybe the story about Betsy Ross was a little bit of a symbol, not so much history, but more story. So she was a true person. She was an actual entrepreneur. She was an actual badass businesswoman who was making uniforms and flags and all, things for the army. She was fantastic in her own right. The story goes that Washington walked into her shop, and he had this idea, and she said, "Let me see what I can do." And snip, snip, she made this flag. Right? That's the story we've got. But that story didn't actually come till 100 years after.
What?
Yeah. And it was only when a nephew of hers, or like some great descendant, said something at a historical society that he'd heard this story, that his aunt had done this, and it just kind of went off from there. And I think people really latched onto the story because there were so many women who were critical to the revolution that never got their due.
Yeah.
There were women who were raising money for the forces. When the men went off to fight, the women had to run the businesses, the farms.
And that's where
They were
Rosie the Riveter came in.
Yeah, well, that was later
years
on.
later,
but same concept. They were the ones who were keeping the economy afloat. When we were boycotting the British taxes, it was the women who were running the households who were saying, we're not buying, we're not spending our money. So it was the women who really stood up, and several women even they hid their gender and they went and joined the army and were fighting in the army. So there's all these tales you can find about these women who had these phenomenal roles. Some played the role of spies because women were forced to act as boarding houses.
Reminds me of Barbara Streisand and Yentl.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So they had to have like these British soldiers in their houses they had to act as boarding houses, and so they would often overhear messages, and they would sew these messages into like the clothing of their kids and send these messages out into the world. So we had women who were doing these phenomenal things, but you never hear their stories. So when Betsy Ross, when that story came up, whether it was purely, entirely factual or not, people latched onto the idea because we needed a female heroine. We needed to be able to tell at least a role of how women played a part. And so I think the beautiful aspect of Betsy Ross is, whether it's factual or not, she symbolized the fact that women were indeed part of our revolutionary
America.
history.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so for a lot of
What
people...
man wanted to admit that he could sew back then?
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
it's
really
true,
where it came from.
And I think for a lot of people, a lot of young women especially, like me, I remember reading about her in school, and I remember thinking, that's so cool. There's a woman who's like part of our history. And, it gave us something to aspire to feel like we were part of this, right? Because otherwise, all the other history was like there were so few women who were involved in the history. So I just think that's such a beautiful part of the story.
So how did the flag come about?
Yeah, like what-
Yeah, like
how did
she
they
was
decide-
like, okay, 13 stripes. Like,
Yeah, like,
was
what
it
are we
an
doing here?
organic
It
moment?
was just organic. It was a conversation according to the lore. No one really knows.
Okay.
It was just a conversation that the nephew or the great nephew said that Washington walked into the shop and he said he had this idea. And she took the general's 6-pointed star and made it into a 5-pointed star. She cut off one arm, and then that was it. Like, we don't really know the genesis of how the flag came to be, but it is a beautiful symbol. And I think we look at symbols. Symbols often, the reason symbols mean so much to us is people look at them and they derive meaning from them because they stand for something. And for us, we look at our flag, and it stands for this country that we know and love. And I think that aside from like what we think about the United States, what we've contributed to the world, one of the biggest concepts that we've given to the world, I think, is this idea of freedom and independence and creativity.
Yeah.
And this idea to create our own destinies. Like, that was
The American
really,
dream.
Yes.
Everyone's heard it for years. Like the term American dream. People
Yeah.
come from
All
other
over the world.
countries. and
I miss
they want to live there.
American dream when I was
No.
17. No matter if I step on the scene or slip away to the Philippines.
Free Davy.
Free Davy.
But I mean, you think
It's
about
Britney,
it,
bitch.
it's the American dream because you come to America and anything, you can do anything, you can be anything, you can create anything.
Yeah, and that idea, like that concept, again, going back to 1783, that was when the treaty was signed, and the world, not just Britain, the world recognized the U.S. as its own country. So we gave the world this inspiration that we were this ragtag bunch of colonies.
Yeah.
We had no resources.
Yeah.
Haggard.
We did not have the naval strength or the military strength that Britain had. At that point in time, they were the strongest empire in the world.
Right.
And we had nothing but gumption
Yeah.
and a desire to create a better world for ourselves. Like that is very powerful. And so we, like our model in and of itself gave people the inspiration to go out and do things. And from that, I think that's why we have a lot of different like cultural things that were created here, because we created this culture of creativity and independence. Like think about the gifts that we've given the world in terms of like art and science. Like I think about jazz, for example. Jazz is a truly American art form. And I think it really embodies what America is in a lot of ways. So jazz, for those who don't know, jazz was founded in New Orleans, Louisiana. And if you know the history of New Orleans and Louisiana in particular, Louisiana was one of those areas that was at some points French, at some points Spanish. There were slave traders, unfortunately, that came in because you had the ports there. So you had all these different global influences in this city, and you had different sounds that came with that. You had the British as well. So you had this very structured music, like you had like the harpsichords and all that stuff from,
Of course, yeah.
The
from like
usual
classical music.
suspects.
And then you had the drumming that came from the enslaved people, and they brought their drums and they brought that rhythm. And then you had the sounds from Spain and from France, and you had all these different influences that culminated into this very unique sound. And so like on Sundays in New Orleans, they would allow the enslaved individuals to go meet in this area called Congo Square, and they would play music. And that music was what they say was the birth of jazz, because it was this very like eclectic, but it was infused with so many different influences.
Little by little.
Little by
which
little.
was cool because it kind of just melted together, almost
Yeah.
like a beautiful casserole dish
Yes.
of jazz
yeah.
music.
So you think about who we are as a country. We are this beautiful amalgamation of all these different cultures that have come here to pursue the American dream, right? And we come together and we create this beautiful sound, this beautiful harmony. And jazz, like one of the things that's so beautiful about jazz is like jazz, there's like a frame, there's a structure, right? There's a very loose structure. It's a 4 notes or 4 beat structure. And then there's like a kind of a main melody, and then everybody takes their turns adding in their own sound. And if you're in a jazz ensemble, everyone sort of has their time to lead
Right.
and their time to step back. And it's a beautiful metaphor for who we are as a country. We're all this amalgamation of sounds, we're all these different influences. Sometimes we lead and sometimes we step back. But also the beautiful aspect about jazz is that jazz musicians listen to one another.
Yeah.
They do not play over one another. They listen, they sense, they feel. And imagine if we took that same type of sentiment to everything we do, if we listened, if we felt, if we let others take the lead and have their voice, and we step back and we, it's this kind of this give and take, this beautiful dance. Jazz took off. Jazz didn't stay an American art form. Now jazz is performed and sung all around the world. And interesting enough, in World War II, they sent jazz ambassadors around the world, because jazz had become such an iconic art form that one of the ways that we could transcend and build connection in other countries was to send these ambassadors. So you had people like Dizzy Gillespie being sent around
Yeah.
the world
Yeah.
to go perform jazz. And there's something about art, I think, that really connects people, and something that's like a different language, right? Art transcends all boundaries. Art transcends all nations. Art, like music in any language, can be beautiful to the ear. A painting doesn't have a language.
Right.
No.
Right. All these things are creative aspects, and the fact that we have this truly American art form like jazz, that later gave birth to things like hip hop. Hip hop is also
Yes.
purely American art form from the streets of Brooklyn and the Bronx, and that started here, and now it's sung in multiple languages around the world. You hear hip hop in like
I have
Korean,
friends
like
who, over the years, I have friends who are not from the United States, but they've come here or whatever. And I'm like, how did you learn to speak English? They're like soap operas and music.
Yeah.
One of them specifically said, he goes, do you know what kind of music? I said, no. He goes, hip hop. He goes, that's how I learned slang. He goes, but then I learned how I was using the slang wrong a lot of times because he got beat up once. But that's what they say. They learn through music and soap operas. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Soap operas.
It's funny. So soap operas, movies, like Hollywood, and there's a lot of things that we brought to the world. NASA, public universities, national parks,
NASCAR.
These are NASCAR. Yeah. These are all things that are kind of like they were born here, and they were born from an idea. Someone had the idea, and they acted on it, and they were creative. And so, like our founding fathers created this document. They started the book, if you will. They started writing the opening chapters of our book, and each generation has added their own chapters, their own creative ideas, their own innovations, their own experiments, if we will, because they call this the grand experiment, right? Each generation has added to that. So we are in the position today where we have the pen too. We are writing the story that someday will be history, right? So whether you think about it or not, we are those same people. Because all the individuals who wrote the original Declaration of Independence and eventually the Constitution, they were just regular people.
Yes,
They
absolutely.
put their pants on one leg at a time.
They were not like thinking they were going to be these historical figures.
But regular people that have freedom.
Yes.
And I think that that's what unifies us all is the word freedom. And I say it all the time that we take it for granted. We can say the things that we can say because we live in this country. There are
Absolutely.
countries out there that you can't have this chat
I
because
would-
they don't believe that what you're saying, what's in your pocketbook, those two books, like, you know what I mean? Like they don't believe that, they don't support that, so you can't say anything about
No.
that. We don't have that here, and I think that what's so beautiful is every single thing that you're talking about, from Betsy Ross to Women of the Revolution to our forefathers that wrote this
To
incredible.
the girl who rode the horse before
the
Paul
Sybil
Revere.
Ludington.
Sybil,
Yeah.
God bless. It's all about freedom.
It's all about freedom. We have the ability to do that, and I think that's something we perhaps take for granted every now and again because we have this freedom, but I think with that also comes responsibility. Like, what are we doing with that? What are we doing? How are we creating? And, I think a lot about like what contributions we make to our community. We talk about this all the time, Sunny. It's like, how are we doing good in the world? That is an example and a display of freedom, in my opinion, because the fact that we can do these things, that we can create a show like Sunny, the fact that we can create art, the fact that we can do things for our neighbors, the fact that we can do all these things, we have the freedom to do so. So it's our responsibility to like do something with it,
Yeah.
to create the legacy, because we are writing our chapters right now. What do we want those chapters to be? And I just think
bestseller.
yeah. And whether we think about it or not, yes, this weekend's all about fun and celebration and celebrating the 250 years that we've already had. I think there's even more great things ahead. So like, what seeds are we planting today that are going to give birth in 20 years? Because our own freedom and our own independence didn't happen overnight. It took 20 years to make that happen.
Yes.
And, we often get really short-sighted on goals, on things we want to achieve, whether it's a goal or not, because I think we're so used to immediate gratification. We've got all these devices that give us instant answers. But sometimes we just have to have belief in something greater and know that every step forward is a step forward. I say this all the time. Every step forward is a step forward. And what is that we're moving towards? Like, what do we want to see in 20 years? What are we doing today that will create that in 20 years' time? We didn't happen overnight as a nation.
Nope.
We as human beings don't happen overnight. Our dreams don't happen overnight. But every day we have the opportunity to take a step towards that and to do some good in our own communities. So like for me, when I'm celebrating tomorrow, I'm going to celebrate all of that because I think it's more than just a party. It's more than just fireworks. It's really about recognizing the beautiful liberties we have here in our country, acknowledging them, and doing something positive with them.
Love it.
Ah.
Love you, Ixiim. That is
Ixiim,
so
you're the
amazing.
best. Where were you when I was in freaking high school, dude?
Folks, we're going to take a quick break with Maritime Creative and Flashes and Brilliance. Maritime Vibe Check!
Fresh version.
When the lights come on and the magic begins,
There's a crew behind the scenes that always wins.
Maritime Creative, they set the stage.
From sound to lights to video waves.
Big show, small space, doesn't matter a bit.
They show up, they glow up, they make it all lit.
No panic, no chaos, just smooth, clean flow.
They take a wild idea and make it glow.
Need a vibe, they build it.
Have a dream, they get it.
From spark to spotlight, they never forget it.
I trust them, I love them, they come on through.
Maritime Creative, that's the real stuff, boo.
So if you want your moment to rise and shine,
Call the crew that always gets it right every time. It's Maritime. Got gold? Got silver? Got a drawer full of what even is this? Then it's time to cash in with Flashes and Brilliance, Northeast Florida's most trusted gold buyers. They're not just buying gold, they're buying silver, rare coins, fine watches, estate jewelry, and all the sparkle you forgot you had. Don't just sit on your treasure. Turn it into cash today. Call John and Steph, the pros who make it easy. 904-540-7617. It's fast, it's friendly, it's Flashes and Brilliance, because your buried treasure belongs in your bank account. Woo! That was a good inspo by
I love when Ixiim
right?
is
Don't you love that
here.
250th
It's the
chat? That was so
best.
well done. All right, let's get into some of these stories here. We got, oh, guys, listen to
Robin
this story.
Hood, Robin
Lean into
Hood.
this one. Yeah, let me see what you guys think on this. A St. Augustine man was arrested for being too kind at a Dollar General. Okay, Sonnies, we have a local story today that we're going to let you decide. You're going to be the judge and the jury on the morning show. Here we go. A 42-year-old St. Augustine man worked at the Dollar General on North Volusia Street, a.k.a. Day Day's Turf, for approximately 5 weeks, between May 1st and June 9th. When customers came into his register and didn't have enough money to cover their total, he quietly applied price overrides. He skipped ringing up some certain items, and he let people walk out with what they needed. He called it gracing. When St. Johns County Sheriff's deputy asked him why he did it, he said the customers were short on money. He said he knew it was wrong. He did it anyway, more than 17 times over the course of a month. The total loss of the Dollar General was, which I find absolutely ridiculous, was $2,850. What in that store is $2,850? That works out to roughly $167 per act of grace. I'm calling BS on that.
Yeah, I call that BS, Jim.
Dollar General reported approximately $38 billion in revenue last year. I'd like to just drive that home for everybody. The man is now charged with a felony grand theft of property. He did not pocket a single dollar. Every cent of that $28.50 went to people who could not cover their groceries. Dollar General called the sheriff. The case is ongoing. Sonnies, lean into this
Guys, when they asked him why, he said customers were short on money and he wanted to do the right thing. He wanted to help them out. He didn't overwrite all the items. It was just certain ones, like basic necessities, right?
Right.
So the fact that he got charged with a felony grand theft, but he did not steal anything.
Right.
And I find it hard to believe that it was $67 per offense.
What in there? Like, I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like,
Now, I will go into Dollar General by my house and I will buy cleaning products because they're cheaper.
Yeah,
and the one
fabuloso.
by my house has like bananas and stuff.
Yeah, of
And they
course.
have like, refrigerated items. But I'll tell you this much. It tells you there's something wrong with the way the world is. If this man is trying to help someone, he didn't steal a damn thing.
Yeah.
And this is a $1 billion company. Like, there's something
Listen,
seriously wrong with this
I
world.
think the manager in this story is the absolute jerk here
He's an asshole.
because
Yes, he is.
they called the sheriff's office on this. Where I know each of these stores get a local marketing budget. Why? Because I sell ads all day long when I'm not on this air, and I know that they've had room in their budget to make sure that maybe a community grace pot could have been designed, or other people could donate into this like pool of funding to be able to help some of these customers out. It is not, especially that section of town, it is not an easy time to
No,
live
it's
in
not.
St.
Yeah.
Augustine.
I
And I
agree.
just think that we could have showed some better grace here than to charge him with a
Absolutely.
felony.
I agree.
I'm disgusted.
think like the manager should have said, okay, this is a
I'm gonna give you a
sign
suspension
of
for a week.
something that we need to address, because
Correct.
people, let's be real, people going to the Dollar Tree, they're already on a budget.
Right.
Like there's already a reason. If someone can't afford something, it's not like they're in there trying to buy a luxury handbag or like a fancy outfit or
Right.
a watch.
They're trying to buy food.
They're trying to buy food and basic necessities for
Probably
their
like
home.
soap, laundry
and so
detergent.
This gentleman like saw a need and maybe not legal.
Of course he acted on it.
But he saw a need and he was trying to do the right thing. And whether it's legal or not, we obviously know there's obviously some things, but I think the manager could have handled it differently and said, okay, we recognize that this is happening. What can we do to solve this? We're going to have to garnish your wages, or maybe we're going to, whatever. I don't think that should
Wait a
happen
minute.
either. I think they should have said, there's obviously a need. What can we do
Here's
corporate?
a new process.
Corporate, what can we do?
That we're going to do. Here's
Wait
a
a
new
minute.
button on the register. Hold on one second. A new button on the register that you can put, and then that'll ding the manager to come up and make sure that they work together as a team.
Because managers have discretion to do these types
That's
of things
what
anyway.
Retail rat right here. I know all about
I
it.
would
Exactly.
say in corporations like this, large corporations, there is money allotted, set to the
That's
side.
right, yeah.
But there's also money that covers losses like this.
There's also nonprofits out there in this community that would have loved to have partnered. I'm thinking Epicure right away. That would have loved to have partnered. That could have done cash dollars into something
I
like
think
this.
that the problem is
This is screaming
they-
a need for people.
The only reason
and we're punishing
the only
kindness.
reason they arrested him and charged him with a felony is to make some sort of weird, twisted example.
I
out
think
of him.
so. I think so.
That's what they made him the scapegoat.
Somebody, I mean, I'm calling. Hopefully, some sort of attorney can literally come
Misty
from.
just said that.
Oh, perfect! Come from heaven and help this man
This is
because
ridiculous.
he
Yep.
had a heart, and we gotta stop punishing kindness.
Yes.
There's a bigger story here than they're thinking it's theft. Yes, I understand that there are some rules that were broken here. I understand
get
that,
that,
but like you said, Ixiim, and like you said, Mel, there's a bigger story here that it's affecting a community that you can be the positive change
It's
here.
not a Louis Vuitton pocketbook.
Yeah.
It's a freaking
Lift
carton
this
of
boy up.
eggs.
Yeah.
Give him a higher position. Let him be the community liaison. Lift people up that have
Yeah.
kindness hearts like that. I just
And
think
you know
that,
what? I bet this guy that was working there that did this. I bet he probably has no groceries in his fridge.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah, because it's generally those people, right? The people who
That
like, who
don't have
a
anything to
lot,
give,
who
they
are
give.
doing more. Like it's
That's
just
what I'm
this
saying.
this really just drives me
Absolutely,
crazy. Yeah.
and I'm really glad that we all are on the same common ground
Yeah,
here.
I'm
Because
mad about it.
I want
Yeah.
this 42-year-old to be safe, and I want him to be recognized for his kindness.
Shame on Dollar
Yeah.
General.
Yeah,
Because now they're going to fire him, and he was not going to have a job.
I would hire this man in a
And
second.
the other side of this is he's going to have a felony on his record, which means a lot of places probably won't hire him.
That's a
Unless
good point,
he has
yeah.
an attorney that we are manifesting right now
Yeah.
that can come from heaven above and get him out of this thickness, because that man has a heart. That man's got energy for a nonprofit.
Somebody
he will
bring him
definitely
on
have
for a
job.
community outreach person.
That's a saint.
Right?
I love that. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Do it.
Absolutely good idea, Mel. Yeah.
Do
All
it.
right. Now, next story here we've got. Oh, listen to this,
Wait,
Mel.
don't we
You'll
gotta
like
go
this
on
one.
old
I know.
time?
I know. I'm gonna just shake your world up, honey.
Messing me up here.
No, we're not. Just follow my lead. California just changed the confusing date label on your food, and honestly, it's about time. I think, Mel, you're gonna like this. Raise your hand if you ever stood in your kitchen holding something back from the back of the fridge, staring at the date stamp, and genuinely not knowing whether you're about to eat lunch or make a very bad decision. I'm here too.
All the
right?
time. Yep.
You never know. Everybody's
Because there's
raising
a
their
sell
hand.
by, eat by, due date, da da da.
Right.
Yeah.
What freaking
So
date is it?
California just did something about that starting yesterday. No, 2 days ago. Come on, David.
Yeah.
First of its kind, the law takes effect. It clears up one of the most confusing systems in American grocery stores. Under Assembly Bill 660, the chaos is more than 50 different date label phrases. The sell by, or the
Yeah.
best before, or the freshest before expires on, and dozens of others gets replaced with two simple, clear categories. If the label is about quality and freshness, it will say best if used by, or best if frozen by. That means the food is still perfectly safe. It
Okay.
just might not be at peak flavor. If the label is about safety, meaning the food is actually no longer safe to eat, it will say use by or use or freeze by. Sorry. Sell by dates on consumer packaging will be gone. Mel?
Holy
good.
moly. California, it takes effect, July, it already took effect.
Okay.
It replaces more than 50 confusing food date label
I'm always
phases
confused.
with two
Yeah.
categories. Best if used by and safety used by.
Yeah.
So I think this is pretty good. 2.5.
Hopefully other states will get on board with
Well,
this.
you guys, 2.5 billion meals worth of unspoiled food end up in California landfills every year. That's 48% of all landfill waste.
We talked
in
to
the state.
Sunny Mulford from Epicure about
20% of all avoidable food waste is caused by consumer confusion over date labels. Not bad food, confusing labels.
Yeah.
Food breaking down in landfills produces methane, which has 84 times the climate impact of carbon dioxide.
Right.
More than 1 in 5 Californians experience food insecurity. Reducing unnecessary food waste directly affects what's available for
Right.
food banks.
Well, that's something to chew on because I think other states need to be getting on board on
Agreed.
that. But why would
I
you?
love this idea.
Yeah, I totally do.
How many times have you thrown food away
All
because
the
you weren't
time.
sure?
And you had
so
no
it's
idea.
going to minimize
And then
that
I'll
food
open and be like,
waste.
Jim, smell this. He's like, I'm not doing
Minimizing
Right?
food waste and rescuing food
Yes.
is really where it's
Yeah.
at. Guys, we're going to go to Old Town Trolley and St. Augustine Attractions Association. Sit back and relax and take it easy, baby, and let it go as Old Town Trolley's licensed and talented tour conductors share over 500 years of St. Augustine history. Guests will enjoy the city's European flavor, brick-lined streets, and sites such as the Castillo de San Marcos, the Fountain of Youth, and Henry Flagler's former Ponce de Leon Hotel. This 90-minute tour features 22 stops and covers more than 100 points of interest. Guests can use their ticket all day for on and off reboarding. You got to check out hometownpass.com. St. Augustine isn't just a destination, it's an experience. From historic streets to the unforgettable adventures, the city is full of moments waiting to happen. But here's the move. Don't just guess your way through it. Go where the Sunnies find the most trusted attractions. The St. Augustine Attractions Association. Dozens of the best experiences all in one place. From history to hidden gems and everything in between. Plan smarter, explore deeper, experience more. Go to StAugustineFLAttractions.com because here you don't just visit St. Augustine, you live it.
It's so funny.
All right, now we're getting into DJ Snack Pack.
Ready?
Oh yeah, life goes on long after the thrill of living is gone. Come on now. Oh yeah, they say life goes on long after the thrill of living is gone.
Mellencamp originally recorded the song Jack, written as a black character, and it changed before release. He has spoken out about the decision with some regret over the years. The album American Fool produced both Jack and Diane #1 and Hurt So Good #2, making Mellencamp one of the few artists to have top 2 songs in the Hot 100 simultaneously.
You know, his brother lives 2 doors down from me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Our neighbor 2 doors over is Mellencamp. It's his brother.
Oh my God.
I know. Isn't that wild?
That is really wild. I love
Ixiim
that.
is famous.
I know.
Sweet home Alabama.
Come on, baby. Where the skies are so blue, blue.
Oh, remix. That's
Whoa,
Christina.
Sweet home Alabama. Lord, I'm coming home to you.
But not anytime soon, Lord. I'm not coming home yet.
No.
The song was written as a direct response to Neil Young's Southern Man in Alabama, which sharply criticized the South. The lyric, I hope Neil Young will remember, the Southern Man don't need him around anyhow, is one of rock's most famous call-outs.
Wow, petty.
Neil Young has said publicly he loves the song and bears no hard feelings.
Oh, my Lanza.
The 2 camps were actually very friendly. The opening guitar riff was one of the most instantly recognizable in rock history.
Yeah, that's so good.
The song was written by Ed King, not Ronnie Van Zant. King played it, Van Zant heard it, and the song was born.
Boom, boom.
All right, I'm going to get this real quick shenanigans in here, so we have one for the weekend.
Yes.
But I want to tell you about this story about this Morgan Castillo and her horrible breakup that had happened.
Oh, Lord. What happened?
Morgan, 28, of Houston, Texas, had been dating Derek Sutton, 30, for 11 months. By all accounts, it was a great relationship. She was attentive, he was thoughtful, and she was the kind of girlfriend who noticed details, which is ultimately what ended everything. One afternoon in early spring, Morgan was sitting in the passenger seat of Derek's Chevy Malibu, and when she spotted something on his headrest, a single long blonde hair. Not hers, she has dark hair. She knows this because she's had dark hair for her entire life. She said nothing. She went home, she sat with it.
She's really cute. There's
Right?
a picture.
So long story short, she caught Derek cheating. And of course, they broke up. Well, Morgan, operating on what she believed was evidence of betrayal, ended the relationship. Derek was blindsided. He tried to explain. He offered he offered to produce Biscuit as a witness, which I skipped that over. But Biscuit was the golden retriever, saying that it was the golden retriever's hair. That's what I meant. Okay.
Okay.
So what happened next unfolded over the course of approximately 3 weeks and required in the end the involvement of 4 mechanics, 2 detailing services, and 1 responding officer who would later tell reporters that she'd never in 18 years of service written the word shrimp so many times in a single document. What? She wrote it 9 times, she counted. Derek first noted the smell in his car after the breakup. It was faint, strange, and not very pleasant exactly, to be persistent. He assumed it was something that he had spilled. The car then got detailed. The smell remained. He went to the mechanic. They found nothing. He went to another mechanic. Same result. A third, and suggested it might be a rodent in the ventilation system. There was no rodent. There was something far more intentional than a rodent. It was the fourth technician who finally removed the dashboard panel and discovered the source of the smell. 11 pounds of raw shrimp sealed in Ziploc bags, duct taped directly to the heating vents. The technician reportedly sat with this information a moment before continuing this
She's
inspection.
crafty.
How did she get it in there?
Derek had
Oh my
called
God.
the police. Officer Maria Salinas responded. Salinas had said she'd worked in law enforcement again for 18 years. She's never seen anything like this. Morgan was located and obviously was charged with criminal mischief and tampering with personal property. She was released on $600 bail.
Dude, they should have given her a charge of pretty
was
crafty.
crafty.
She
How did she
was
get that in there?
shrimpy and craft. That would not be a good
Wow.
scenario for you, my
No.
friend.
Oh, no, Ixiim. That would not be good for
No,
you.
not for me.
All
Oh, my
right,
God.
Sonnies, tomorrow this country turns 250 years old, and we want to talk to you what that actually means. Not the parade version, not the fireworks version, the real version. Freedom is not a given. It never was. Every single right you will exercise tomorrow to gather, to speak, to worship, or not to worship, to love who you love, to walk out into your front door and just be you, somebody paid for that. Somebody bled for that. Somebody sat in a jail cell for that. Somebody marched until their feet gave out for that. Somebody wrote a letter by candlelight for that. Somebody got on a boat with nothing for that. And they didn't do it for themselves. They did it for you. For someone they never will meet, in a time they couldn't imagine, living a life they could only dream of. That is the inheritance. That is what lands in your hands tomorrow. So we want you to ask something, not to answer out loud, just to sit with. Are you living like someone died for you to be free? Because some of you are. And some of you are out there showing up every single day, working, creating, loving, fighting, healing, raising children, building things, telling the truth, even when it costs you something. And you do not even realize that this is what freedom looks like in action. This is not small. That is the whole point. And some of you are carrying something heavy right now, something that makes it hard to feel proud of everything. We see you too. Freedom was also bought for the hard days, for the days you are not sure what comes next, for the days the dream feels far away. It was bought for all of it. You are not a bystander in this story. You are it. You are right now watching this in this city, in this Sunnyverse, in this community. You are what 250 years of this country's hope looks like when it actually shows up. Do not waste it. Don't shrink from it. Don't let anyone else, don't let fear, no doubt, not noise, not division convince you that you do not belong in the full, bright, complicated, glorious inheritance of this place. You are free. And I like it, and I love it, and you guys are amazing. Sonnies, you have rocked it out this week on our patriotic, passionate 250th. Ixiim, thank you so much for Inspo with Ixiim today.
Ixiim.
That was so inspiring. And Sonnies, the Sunshine Brigade is rolling back in at 3 o'clock today for another round of the show that's on in the afternoon, but all the cool kids, all the Sonnies, we know it as
Afternoon Delight.
We'll see you at 3, Sonnies. We'll see you later.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.